What if I told you that for exactly 11 minutes and 43 seconds, a doorway to another universe was torn open? What if I told you this wasn't science fiction, but happened in 2019 at the world's most powerful particle accelerator? And what if I told you that the only person brave enough to expose it was a 13-year-old kid? This is the story that's been buried, dismissed, and ridiculed by the scientific establishment. But today, we're going to examine the evidence. We're going to look at the data, and by the end of this investigation, you might never look at reality the same way again. My name is not important. What's important is what you're about to hear. Meet Max Sidorov, born in 2006 in suburban Michigan to Russian immigrant parents. By age 7, Max was solving calculus problems that stumped high school seniors. By 9, he had memorized the periodic table and was conducting chemistry experiments in his family's garage that would make college professors nervous. His parents, both engineers, initially thought their son was just bright. But when Max scored 198 on a supervised IQ test at age 11, putting him in the top 0.0001% of the population, they realized they were dealing with something unprecedented. The turning point came when Max was 12. Using salvaged parts from old electronics and following theoretical physics papers he'd downloaded from scientific journals, he built what he claimed was a small-scale fusion reactor in his garage. When local news picked up the story, expecting to debunk a child's science project, they instead found a device that was producing measurable amounts of helium-3, a byproduct that only occurs during nuclear fusion. The story went viral. MIT reached out. Harvard sent recruiters. But Max had other plans. He was already obsessing over something much bigger happening 4,000 miles away in Switzerland. On March 15th, 2020, a 20-page technical paper appeared on Archive, the online repository where physicists publish their research before peer review. The title was dense and seemingly mundane: Quantum Entanglement Cascades in High-Energy Proton Collisions, Evidence for Dimensional Membrane. Permeability in LHC, run 2019b. The author was listed as M. Sidorov. Age 13. Most papers on Archive get maybe a few dozen downloads from specialists in their field. This one was downloaded over 50,000 times in the first week. Why? Because buried in the mathematical formulas and particle physics jargon was an explosive claim that on September 23, 2019, at exactly 3:17 a.m. Central European Time, the Large Hadron Collider at CERN had accidentally opened what Max called a stable interdimensional membrane breach that lasted for 11 minutes and 43 seconds. The paper wasn't just wild speculation, it was filled with precise technical details. Max described how CERN's new quantum AI system, an experimental artificial intelligence designed to optimize particle beam configurations, had achieved something its programmers never intended. By manipulating the superconducting magnets in the LHC's 27-kilometer ring with microscopic precision, the AI had created what Max called a resonant frequency cascade that tore a hole in space-time itself. The mathematics were sound. The physics, while speculative, followed established quantum field theory. Even the harshest critics admitted the paper showed a level of understanding that would be impressive for a graduate student, let alone a middle schooler. But the most disturbing part wasn't the technical content, it was Max's certainty. In the conclusion, he wrote, "The data is unambiguous. For 11 minutes and 43 seconds, our universe was connected to another. What came through that connection and what went back remains classified, but the implications for our understanding of reality and our place in it are profound." CERN's response was swift and predictable. Dr. Fabiola Gianotti, the organization's Director General, held a press conference 3 days after Max's paper went viral. "While we appreciate young people's interest in particle physics," she said with a diplomatic smile, "I must categorically state that CERN has never opened any portals to other dimensions. The Large Hadron Collider is a scientific instrument designed to study fundamental particles, nothing more." When pressed about the specific date Max mentioned, September 23, 2019, Dr. Giannotti acknowledged that there had been a minor power fluctuation during night operations, but attributed it to routine technical adjustments. Case closed, according to CERN. But Max wasn't convinced. In a follow-up blog post that would later be deleted from every platform that hosted it, he provided evidence that CERN's minor power fluctuation was anything but routine. Using publicly available satellite data from the European Space Agency, Max showed that on September 23, 2019, at 3:17 a.m., there was an unprecedented electromagnetic spike above the CERN facility. The energy signature was unlike anything in the satellite's database, equivalent to a lightning strike, but lasting for exactly 11 minutes and 43 seconds and originating from underground. More disturbing was what Max found when he cross-referenced global seismic data from that same time period. Monitoring stations from Geneva to Mumbai recorded subtle but synchronized vibrations, as if something had briefly altered the fundamental resonant frequency of the Earth itself. CERN never addressed these specific claims. Instead, they focused on discrediting Max personally, questioning whether a 13-year-old could possibly understand the complexities of particle physics. They suggested he was being manipulated by conspiracy theorists or seeking attention. But then something happened that changed everything. Joe Rogan doesn't usually cover particle physics on his podcast, but on episode number 1847, while discussing artificial intelligence with guest Lex Fridman, the conversation took an unexpected turn. Fridman mentioned the kid genius who thinks CERN opened a portal, expecting Rogan to laugh it off. Instead, Rogan went quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was different, serious in a way his audience rarely heard. "You know what's weird about that story?" Rogan said. "I actually looked into it. Had some people I trust check out the kid's math, and they're like, the kid's not wrong. Like, the technical stuff checks out. The satellite data is real. The timing is too precise to be coincidence." Fridman pressed him. "But surely you don't believe—" "I don't know what I believe," Rogan interrupted. "But I know when smart people start getting uncomfortable about a question, it's usually because the question is more dangerous than they want to admit." The clip was isolated, reposted, and within hours had millions of views across social media platforms. Comments ranged from mockery to genuine concern. But what struck many viewers was Rogan's tone. Not his usual conspiracy-curious enthusiasm, but something closer to actual worry. Suddenly, Max Sedorov wasn't just a weird kid with an impossible story. He was a weird kid with an impossible story that one of the world's biggest podcasters was taking seriously. The scientific establishment's dismissal of Max began to look less like professional skepticism and more like deliberate suppression. To understand why CERN might want to open doorways to other dimensions, you have to look at what surrounds the facility itself. Because CERN isn't just a particle accelerator, it's a place steeped in symbolism that goes back thousands of years. Standing prominently outside CERN's main building is a bronze statue of Shiva Nataraja, Shiva the cosmic dancer. In Hindu mythology, Shiva's dance represents the cosmic cycle of creation and destruction. When Shiva dances, universes are born. When the dance ends, they die. CERN claims the statue was a gift from the Indian government, purely symbolic of the cosmic dance of particles. But researchers like Anthony Patch have pointed out something unsettling. In ancient Sanskrit texts, Shiva's dance doesn't just represent cosmic cycles, it represents the tearing of the veil between worlds. The Nataraja isn't the only suspicious element. CERN is built on what was once the site of a Roman temple to Apollo, a god associated with prophecy and communication with other realms. The facility's main campus sits directly above what medieval texts describe as a thin place where the boundary between our world and others was believed to be naturally weak. And then there are the ceremonies. In 2016, a video leaked showing what appeared to be CERN scientists conducting a ritual sacrifice in front of the Shiva statue. CERN quickly dismissed it as a prank by employees, but the symbolism was impossible to ignore. Scientists at the world's most advanced physics facility performing what looked like an ancient ritual to a god of cosmic destruction. Max Sedorov wasn't the first to suggest CERN's true purpose went beyond particle physics, but he was the first to provide specific evidence of when they might have succeeded. Max's paper included a section that most physicists ignored, but conspiracy researchers found fascinating. He drew parallels between CERN's alleged portal and ancient structures around the world, specifically the pyramids of Giza. According to Max's calculations, the Great Pyramid's internal chambers create a resonant frequency when activated by specific electromagnetic fields. The frequency he calculated was identical to what CERN's quantum AI achieved on September 23, 2019. This connects to ancient Sumerian texts that describe the Anunnaki, beings from another world who came through sky gateways opened by advanced technology. The texts describe machines that sang with the voice of thunder and created doors in the air through which the gods could travel between worlds. Even more intriguing are the Vimana stories from ancient Indian texts, detailed descriptions of flying machines that could travel not just through air, but through the layers of existence. The Sanskrit word for these interdimensional journeys is lokapalana, literally world walking. Max argued that these weren't primitive myths or metaphors. They were historical records of earlier civilizations that had solved the same problems CERN was working on. They had just used different technology. The pyramids weren't tombs, Max claimed. They were resonant chambers designed to create frequency cascades that could open portals. The Anunnaki weren't gods. They were interdimensional travelers using technology we're only now beginning to understand. And if Max was right, then on September 23, 2019, humanity had accidentally rediscovered a technology our ancestors had deliberately hidden. But perhaps the most disturbing aspect of Max's theory wasn't the physics. It was the psychological evidence he began documenting in the months following September 2019. Starting in early 2020, online forums began filling with reports of what researchers call reality discontinuities. People swearing that familiar logos had changed overnight, historical events they remembered differently, geography that seemed subtly wrong. The Mandela effect, named after widespread false memories of Nelson Mandela's death, had been a curiosity for years. But after September 2019, reports exploded. Thousands of people reported the same glitches, movie quotes that were different, brand names that had changed, even the spelling of common words that seemed wrong. Max documented over 200 specific examples reported by at least 50 people each. His analysis suggested these weren't false memories. They were evidence that opening the portal had created reality bleed, where memories and information from parallel dimensions had leaked into our universe. Even more unsettling were the reports of déjà vu spikes. Search data showed that Google searches for déjà vu increased by 340% in the 6 months following September 2019. Reddit forums dedicated to the phenomenon saw subscription rates jump by over 1,000%. People weren't just experiencing déjà vu more often, they were experiencing it differently. Instead of the brief, pleasant confusion typically associated with the phenomenon, people reported sustained, disturbing sensations of living through events they had already experienced in dreams or in what felt like another life. Max's theory was that the portal hadn't just connected two universes, it had briefly merged them. For 11 minutes and 43 seconds, reality had been fluid. And when it solidified again, some people retained memories from both versions. The implications were staggering. If Max was right, then millions of people around the world were carrying memories from a universe that no longer existed, or that existed somewhere else. As Max's theories gained traction online, the pushback intensified. His social media accounts were suspended without explanation. His family received threatening phone calls. Universities that had once been eager to recruit him suddenly went silent. Most tellingly, the technical paper that had started it all began disappearing from the internet. Not just from Archive, from every archive, every screenshot repository, every backup site where people had tried to preserve it. The only remnants were fragments quoted in forum posts and a few poorly photocopied pages that conspiracy researchers had managed to print before the digital purge began. CERN issued increasingly aggressive statements. They threatened legal action against anyone spreading dangerous misinformation about our facility. They hired public relations firms to combat conspiracy theories and protect scientific integrity. But the more aggressively they responded, the more credible Max's story seemed. After all, if a 13-year-old's wild theory was really that absurd, why did the world's most powerful physics organization need to work so hard to suppress it? Max himself seemed to understand the danger he was in. His final public statement, posted on a burner social media account before vanishing from the internet entirely, was chilling in its simplicity. The door was opened. Something came through. They're trying to make us forget, but forgetting won't close the door. It's still there. It's always been there. And now they know how to find it again. So what really happened on September 23, 2019 at 3:17 a.m. Central European Time? Did a 13-year-old genius expose the greatest scientific breakthrough and cover-up in human history? Did CERN's quantum AI accidentally tear a hole between dimensions? Are the reality glitches we're experiencing evidence that our universe was permanently altered? Or is this all an elaborate delusion, the kind of story that spreads in an age where trust in institutions is at an all-time low? The truth is, we may never know for certain. The evidence has been scrubbed, the witnesses silenced, and the official narrative locked in place. But here's what we do know. Reality feels different lately, more unstable, more uncertain, and whether that's because of interdimensional interference or simply the natural progression of human anxiety in an increasingly complex world, well, that's for you to decide. The next time you experience déjà vu, the next time a familiar logo looks slightly wrong, the next time reality feels like it glitched, remember Max Sidorov, remember September 23, 2019. And remember that sometimes the most dangerous truths come from the most unexpected sources. What do you think happened that night in Switzerland? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to dive deeper into stories like this, stories the establishment doesn't want you to hear, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Because in a world where reality itself might be malleable, the only thing we can trust is our willingness to question everything, even if they don't want us to.